A young millionaire late for a crucial meeting saw a beggar with a baby in the rain. Without hesitation, he gave her his house keys. He returned later without knocking, and what he saw shocked him. It was a hectic day in New York, USA. As Ryan moved through the bustling crowd at one of the country's most prestigious architecture events, the contrast between the luxury around him and the event's true purpose was clear. Though filled with glitz and glamour, the event was actually a charity gathering aimed at raising funds for social housing projects. Top architects, including Ryan, had donated their designs for these initiatives, and the night was all about collecting resources to turn those plans into reality. The elite had a chance to make a real difference in society, even if for some, it was just another opportunity to show off their wealth and status. Ryan didn't go unnoticed. Known as one of the most gifted architects around, his presence was as striking as the projects he had signed off on. Despite his success, people whispered about how his personality had shifted after the sudden loss of his young wife in an accident, and the fact that he now cared for his ailing father. Some saw him as cold, but those who understood the hardships of life knew it was just his way of coping with the challenges he faced. Amid the event, Ryan crossed paths with Susan, an iconic figure in the world of architecture, respected for her vast experience and numerous achievements. "Ryan, it's always a pleasure to see a professional of your caliber here," she remarked with a piercing gaze. "I've heard that despite your demanding career, you've been taking care of your father. That's truly admirable." He offered a polite smile and nodded, but deep down, he felt out of place in this world of appearances. Sensing his discomfort, Susan added, "These events can feel shallow, but they sometimes reveal more than we expect. So, what brings you here today, Ryan? It doesn't seem like you're here just for networking." With a faint, sad smile, Ryan replied, "My being here is more out of obligation than desire. You see, my life has never been solely about architecture. Much more human experiences and lessons I've learned from my father have shaped it." He paused, reflecting on the tough times he had endured. "My father, despite all the hardships, always found ways to help others. He was a simple man with a huge heart, raising me on his own. Every sacrifice he made taught me something valuable about life." Susan listened carefully, her expression showing respect. "It's rare to find someone who holds on to those kinds of values, especially after achieving the level of success you have. Your father must be an incredible man," she said. "He really is," Ryan replied, his eyes glowing with pride. "Well, he did a bit of everything to support us, from fixing things for the neighbors to tutoring kids. He always said that a man's greatest wealth isn't in what he owns, but in what he can give to others." Susan nodded, understanding the depth of Ryan's words. "That explains a lot about who you are, Ryan, and how you approach your life and career. Many people here could learn from that," she added. Ryan smiled, thankful for her words. "I just try to live in a way that would make my dad proud. He taught me that the true architecture of life is about building bridges between people, creating spaces where understanding and support can grow." Susan smiled with genuine admiration. She too had started out with little, worked hard, and reached one of the highest positions in her field. But despite her success, there was a deep sadness behind her eyes. She hadn't started a family, and that part of her life remained a quiet, private space. After leaving the architecture event, Ryan headed home, a place that had become more of a sanctuary than just a place to live. When he arrived, he found his father, now living with him because of his illness, watching a late-night show. Despite his health challenges, Mr. George still had a lively spirit and a sharp mind. "How was the event, son?" he asked, looking at Ryan with interest. "Did they raise a good amount?" "It went well, even though the room was full of people who think they're gods because of their money. It was a success," Ryan replied as he sat down next to his father. "I even talked with Susan about how important our work is for society." After their conversation, Ryan got up and headed to the kitchen. "I'm going to fix something to eat. Do you want anything in particular?" he called over his shoulder. "Whatever you make is fine, son," his father replied. "Don't worry too much about me," his father replied with a grateful smile. Later that evening, while helping his father settle in for the night, Ryan brought up his plans for the next day. "Dad, I have to head out early tomorrow morning for that meeting about the new project. I'll make sure everything's set here before I go, and Mrs. Martinez said she'd stop by to check on you." Ryan's father, now comfortable in bed, looked at him with a tender expression. "You're a good son, Ryan. Go do what you need to do. I'm proud of you." Mr. George had weathered many hardships in his life. After Ryan's mother left them, he took on the heavy responsibility of raising his son alone. Despite their financial struggles, he always made Ryan's education his top priority, firmly believing it was the key to a better future. Every dollar he earned went toward Ryan's schooling. With grit and determination, Ryan took advantage of every opportunity to learn, eventually becoming the successful architect he is today. Even after achieving so much, Ryan never forgot the sacrifices his father made. He stayed by his side, taking care of him with the same love and gratitude that had shaped his own upbringing. The next morning, Ryan woke up early, ready for the big day ahead. He dressed carefully, picking out a sharp suit for the important meeting in the nearby city. As he stepped outside, a downpour had already started. The driver, well aware of Ryan's routine, was waiting for him. "Looks like we've got some rough weather ahead, Mr. Ryan," the driver remarked as he approached. Traffic in the neighboring city was a mess due to the heavy rain. As the car crawled along the congested highway, Ryan stared out the window, watching the rain splash against the glass, his mind preoccupied with thoughts of the upcoming meeting. Suddenly, a scene by the side of the road caught his eye. A woman, clearly homeless, was clutching a newborn baby, trying desperately to shield the infant from the relentless rain. It was a picture of despair and vulnerability that tugged at Ryan's heart. Without hesitation, he told the driver, "Pull over, please. I need to help her." The driver, familiar with Ryan's compassion for those in need, gave him a knowing look. "But Mr. Ryan, you'll get soaked and your suit will be ruined. Plus, we still have a meeting to attend." Ryan, undeterred, responded firmly, "I don't care about the suit or being late. That woman and her baby need help right now." He opened the car door and stepped out into the pouring rain. As he approached the woman, he asked, "Can I help you? You and your baby can't stay out here in this downpour. Do you have anywhere to go? A home?" The woman, startled and shielding her daughter from the rain, quickly replied, "No, we don't have anywhere." She didn't go into further details about her situation, but Ryan could sense the urgency. Without hesitation, he dashed back to the car through the heavy rain and asked the driver to open the glove box. He pulled out a set of keys, then returned to the woman. Introducing himself briefly, he asked, "What's your name?" "Charlotte," she replied, holding her daughter tighter to shield her from the rain. "Charlotte, this is the key to my father's house. It's not far from here. He's staying with me for now, so the house is empty. You and your daughter can stay there," Ryan said, extending the keys toward her. "I'm running late for a meeting, but my driver will take you there." After handing over the keys, Ryan hurried back to the car, now drenched from the rain. He informed the driver, "I'm walking to the meeting. Please take Charlotte and her child to my father's house. It's close by. And stop by the store on the way. Get whatever they need, food, clothes, diapers, anything." The driver, accustomed to Ryan's acts of kindness, nodded without hesitation. "Consider it done, Mr. Ryan. I'll take care of everything." After saying goodbye to Ryan, The driver walked over to where Charlotte and her daughter were standing, sheltered from the rain. He spoke gently. "Come on, don't worry. I'll take you to a safe place. Mr. Ryan wants to help you and your little one." But Charlotte looked at him with a mix of fear and doubt. "I don't know you," she said. "I've seen on TV what can happen. I can't just trust like that." She clutched her daughter tightly against her chest, her heart pounding as the rain drummed against the car's windows. The driver, sensing her overwhelming anxiety, turned to her with a reassuring look. "I understand your fear," he said gently. "But I promise you, Mr. Ryan is a man with a kind heart. He only wants to help." Seeing that she was still uncertain, he opened his wallet and pulled out several photos, extending them toward her. "Look, I have a family too," he continued. "I'm a father. I've worked with Mr. Ryan for years, and he genuinely cares about people." Charlotte glanced at the photos, pictures of the driver's smiling children and wife. Then back at his face, reading the sincerity in his eyes. Though still filled with caution, she began to feel a small glimmer of trust. She had been through so much already, and the thought of shelter for her and her daughter was hard to resist. With one more glance at her shivering child, she finally nodded. "Okay," she said softly, though her voice held traces of uncertainty. The driver gave a gentle nod in return, not pressing her further. He opened the car door wider, helping her inside as she carefully adjusted her daughter on her lap. Holding her close, Charlotte shielded the child from the rain as best she could, wrapping her small body in the fold of her coat. Once they were settled, the driver started the car, guiding it slowly through the rain-soaked streets toward Ryan's father's house. Before heading directly to the house, the driver made a stop at a small local market. He got out in the rain, returning shortly after, with a few bags in his arms. "Food and diapers," he explained, placing the items in the back seat, ensuring they would have what they needed when they arrived at their destination. Meanwhile, as the afternoon stretched into the evening, Ryan had just concluded a long and productive meeting. His mind, though filled with the details of work, kept wandering back to Charlotte and her daughter. As soon as he stepped outside and spotted his driver waiting, he wasted no time climbing into the car. "How did it go? Did they make it to my father's house?" Ryan asked as soon as he sat down, his concern evident in his voice. "Yes, Mr. Ryan," the driver responded, "but I dropped them off at the start of the street. I thought it might be easier to manage the car that way." Ryan, surprised by the choice, paused for a moment, then said gently, "You should have taken them to the door, especially with this rain, and her carrying a young child." The driver nodded apologetically. "I'm sorry, sir. I thought it would be less of a hassle." Ryan sighed, leaning back in his seat. "It's fine," he said, though still deep in thought. "It's been a busy day for all of us. I'll stop by tomorrow to make sure they're okay and see if they need anything." His eyes drifted toward the window as the car moved through the rain-soaked streets. The thought of Consuelo and her daughter, soaked and seeking refuge, stayed with him. He knew he had made the right choice in helping them, but he couldn't shake his worry for their well-being. When Ryan arrived home later that evening, he barely had a chance to open the front door before Mrs. Ramirez, his father's caretaker, greeted him with an unexpected look on her face. She seemed to have something urgent to say. "Mr. Ryan," she began, her voice hesitant, "your father, Mr. George, took a copy of the keys to his house and left right after you did. He said he wanted to spend a few days there, that he was feeling better and getting bored here." Ryan blinked, surprised. "He left by himself?" he asked, concerned about his father's health and safety. "But he knows he shouldn't be going anywhere alone." Mrs. Molly quickly interrupted him. "Yes, he left on his own. He said He waited until you were out of town because he knew you wouldn't let him go like that. He seemed determined and mentioned that he felt well enough to be on his own for a few days. Hearing about his father's sudden decision to head to the other house, where Charlotte and her daughter were staying, Ryan immediately thought of potential complications. Without hesitation, he asked the driver to take him there as quickly as possible. As the car sped through the streets, worry gnawed at him. When they arrived, Ryan saw the front door wide open and an ambulance parked outside. His heart raced as he spotted his father being carried on a stretcher. Ryan rushed inside, panic overtaking him as he tried to make sense of the situation. He approached the paramedics and introduced himself. "I'm his son. What happened?" The doctor, looking at Ryan, calmly explained, "Your father had a stroke. Fortunately, his wife was here and acted quickly, calling the ambulance. She saved his life." Ryan was overwhelmed with emotion, relief that his father was alive, gratitude that Charlotte had been there, and a deep fear of what might have been. He walked alongside the stretcher to the ambulance, determined to stay by his father's side during this critical moment. Still in shock, he watched as the doctor loaded his father into the vehicle. As soon as the ambulance headed to the hospital, he turned toward the house, looking for Charlotte and her daughter. Ryan approached them, trying to calm his nerves after the scare with his father, though the concern was still written all over his face. "Charlotte, I don't know how to thank you for everything you did." "The doctor thought you were my wife," Ryan said, attempting to lighten the tense moment with a small smile. Charlotte, sensing the seriousness of the situation, replied in a soft tone, "There's no need to thank me, Mr. Ryan. I just did what anyone would do. I was in the right place at the right time." Ryan noticed the groceries she had bought, realizing they were only basic items. "I see. You only got the essentials. You could have taken more, you know. There's no need to hold back," he remarked, concerned that she might not have gotten everything she needed. Charlotte looked at him, a mix of gratitude and excitement in her eyes. "I didn't want to take advantage of your kindness. You've already done so much for us." There was a brief moment of silence, during which Ryan felt a deep, human connection with Charlotte. "Charlotte, I'd really love to know more about you and your daughter. How did you end up in this situation? If you're comfortable sharing, I'd like to hear your story," Ryan said, his voice full of genuine concern and a real desire to help. Charlotte let out a long sigh, as if weighing the decision to open up. She glanced at her daughter, then back at Ryan before she started speaking. "I never knew my mother," she began. "I grew up with a father who might as well have been a stranger. He drank too much and barely even noticed I existed." Ryan listened intently, sensing the strength in her words. "I always wanted to go to school, you know," she continued. "But my father never allowed it. So I'd read in secret after he'd passed out, dreaming of a better life." Charlotte paused, reflecting on those memories. As time went on, things just got worse. My father sank deeper into his drinking. I tried to help, but there was nothing I could do. He was a harsh man, and most of the time I was afraid of him. Then one day, I met someone. She went on. He seemed perfect, kind, caring. We were together for a while, and then I got pregnant. At first I was scared, but I thought I'd finally have a real family. Charlotte's voice trembled with pain as she continued. But the moment he found out, he left, disappeared without a trace. I hid the pregnancy as long as I could, but when my father found out, she hesitated. He was furious, didn't even give me a chance to explain, threw me out with nothing but the clothes on my back. "How did you survive?" Ryan asked, his voice thick with concern. "I begged for money and lived on the streets. When my daughter was born, it was other homeless people who helped me. I was terrified and didn't trust anyone. But I had to be strong for her," Charlotte said. her eyes filled with the weight of her struggles. Ryan gazed at Charlotte, not just seeing the pain and fear on her face, but also recognizing her incredible strength. "You're unbelievably strong," Charlotte said softly. "Your story is one of immense resilience." She gave a sad smile. "I didn't have a choice. Life hasn't been kind, but I couldn't give up. I'd do it all over again for my daughter. I don't even know how to thank you for everything," she added, her voice cracking with emotion. "When I saw all the books your father had, it felt like heaven to me. I love to read, but I've never had access to so many books." Ryan gave a kind smile. "Feel free to read as much as you like, Charlotte. I took your needs into consideration as well." As he got ready to leave, Ryan handed her an envelope. "This should help with some of the expenses," he said softly. Charlotte took the envelope, feeling the weight of the paper in her hand. She opened it cautiously, her eyes widening as she saw the amount of money inside. "Ryan, this is too much. I can't accept all of this," she stammered, her voice trembling. "Please take it," Ryan insisted with a gentle smile. "You need it more than I do. Use it to buy clothes, food, anything you and your baby might need." Tears welled up in Charlotte's eyes. "I don't even know how to thank you. You're giving me more than just help. You're giving me hope." There was a moment of silence as Charlotte looked at Ryan, a thought coming to her mind. "May I ask, are you married, Ryan?" Ryan sighed, a shadow crossing his face. "I was," he began. "My wife passed away in an accident just a month after we got married. That was 3 years ago." Charlotte brought her hand to her mouth, shocked and saddened by his revelation. "I'm so sorry, Ryan. I had no idea." He nodded slightly. "It's all right. It was tough, but I've learned to live with it. The pain never fully goes away. But we learn to keep moving forward, don't we?" Charlotte nodded, feeling an unexpected connection with Ryan through their shared experiences of loss and hardship. Ryan stood up, grabbing his keys. "Well, I've got to head out now, but please make yourself at home here, and if you need anything at all, just call me." "Thank you, Ryan," Charlotte said sincerely, "for everything." He nodded, a sad smile on his lips. "Take care of yourself, Charlotte. And remember, you're not alone." With those words, he left, leaving Charlotte sitting there, wrapped in a mix of gratitude, hope, and a newfound sense that she wasn't as isolated in the world as she had once felt. Ryan returned to his own home, his mind filled with thoughts of his encounter with Charlotte and her story. The next day, he visited his father in the hospital. His father was stable but still needed constant care. Sitting by the hospital bed, Ryan began telling his father about Charlotte and her daughter, sharing the details of the day he felt unwell. He recounted how it was Charlotte who called the doctor, saving Mr. Molly's life, and how challenging her life had been. Ryan's father listened closely, his face reflecting deep emotion. "She sounds like an incredible and courageous woman, son," his father said in a weak but proud voice. "It's heartwarming to see that you've grown into such a kind-hearted man. I thank God for giving me the strength to raise you on my own." A comfortable silence fell between them as they both became lost in their thoughts. After a brief pause, Ryan's father spoke again, this time thoughtfully. "Don't you think it might be better to bring Charlotte and the baby to live closer to us? They could stay at our house. I'd love to have more life around here, and you wouldn't have to travel so much to see them." Ryan considered the suggestion, realizing how welcoming the idea of having Charlotte and her daughter nearby was. The thought of his father having more company also appealed to him. "That's a good idea, Dad. I'll talk to Charlotte about it. I think having them around would bring a lot of joy to our home." Ryan's father smiled, clearly moved by the possibility. "It would be wonderful. Having a little one around would fill the house with life. It's so quiet when you're away working. With this new idea in mind, Ryan said goodbye to his father, promising to seriously consider the suggestion and talk it over with Charlotte. He left the hospital feeling hopeful, imagining what the future might hold for all of them. After a long day working on a big project, Ryan was exhausted but determined. He drove over to the house where Charlotte was staying, thinking about the proposal he had in mind. When he arrived, he found Charlotte tidying up the living room, while the baby played peacefully on the floor. "Charlotte, there's something important I want to talk to you about," Ryan began, sitting down beside her. Charlotte looked at him curiously. "What's going on, Ryan?" He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "My house is big, and ever since my father got sick, it's been really quiet. He loves to read, and I thought, since you love reading too, maybe you two could keep each other company. Plus, he could help you with your studies if you wanted." Charlotte seemed surprised by the suggestion. "You mean you want me and my daughter to live in your house?" Charlotte asked. "Yes," Ryan confirmed. "It would be wonderful to have you and the baby here. I think it would be good for my dad too. He'd feel less lonely, and you'd have a safe place to stay. Plus, you can access all the books you'd like." Charlotte paused, considering the offer carefully. "That would be amazing, Ryan. I'm not sure how to thank you. It would be such a big help for me and my daughter, and I'd love the chance to study more." She gave a satisfactory response, and Ryan grinned. "Then it's settled. Let's do it. I think it will be good for all of us." With a grateful smile, Charlotte agreed and quickly gathered her belongings, along with her daughter's things. Once they were packed, they headed to Ryan's house. Her heart was filled with hope at the chance to learn and make something of herself. As soon as they walked in, Charlotte couldn't hide her amazement. "Wow, Ryan, your home is incredible. You really are a talented architect," she said, admiring the surroundings. Ryan grinned. "Thank you, Charlotte. I hope you and your daughter will feel at home here." Over the next few days, Charlotte and Ryan's father, Mr. Ramirez, began to grow closer. He had an impressive collection of books and enthusiastically shared with Charlotte those he thought she'd find interesting. One day, Mr. Ramirez picked up an old book and said, "This was one of my favorites when I was younger. I think you'll enjoy it." Charlotte accepted the book, flipping through its yellow pages. "It looks fascinating. Thank you for sharing this with me, Mr. Ramirez." Recognizing the bond forming between them and appreciating Charlotte's dedication, Ryan decided they no longer needed his father's caregiver. Charlotte had insisted on caring for Mr. Ramirez whenever Ryan wasn't home. She took care of him with a mix of respect and affection, and Mr. Ramirez greatly enjoyed the company of both Charlotte and her daughter. Charlotte often expressed how much she loved her new life. "I really enjoy looking after your father, Ryan. He's been so kind to me and my daughter. It's the least I can do." Ryan gave her a nod, his expression warm and sincere. "You're part of the family now, Charlotte. My father and I are so thankful to have you and your daughter here with us." As Charlotte gradually adjusted to living in Ryan's home, he made sure to not only offer her a place to stay, but also the chance to gain financial independence. He valued her too much to let her feel dependent. One day, while they were both in the kitchen, the comfortable silence between them led Ryan to bring up something important that had been on his mind. "Charlotte, I've been thinking," Ryan began, his tone careful yet firm. "I want to start paying you a salary." Charlotte stopped what she was doing, looking at him with surprise. "Ryan, you don't have to do that. You've already given my daughter and me everything we need. A home. Stability." "I know," Ryan continued, not backing down, "but it's really important to me that you have your own income and that you feel free. I don't want you to ever feel like you have to ask for anything." Seeing the genuine concern in his eyes, Charlotte felt a rush of emotion. She could hardly remember the last time someone had cared enough about her independence. "Thank you, Ryan," she said softly, her voice catching. "This means more to me than you know. It's been so long since I've felt this valued, this free." Ryan smiled gently, and from that day on, he began paying Charlotte a regular salary. For the first time in years, Charlotte experienced the relief of having financial autonomy. She could now buy clothes for her daughter without feeling a sense of burden. She could pick up new books that she'd long wanted to read and even managed to save a little for the future. The freedom that came with having her own income gave her a renewed sense of self-worth. She no longer felt the weight of dependency on her shoulders, and that newfound independence brought a certain brightness to her spirit. Her confidence grew, as did her sense of security. Ryan's kindness went beyond just providing a roof over her head. His respect for her dignity and his generosity allowed her the space to rebuild her life on her own terms. Over time, the relationship between Ryan and Charlotte became closer, and an unspoken bond of trust and affection developed. Ryan also grew fond of Charlotte's young daughter, Lily, and the three of them often spent time together, going for walks and enjoying each other's company. During these moments, Ryan would share his passion for architecture with Charlotte. She paid close attention to him out of genuine interest in his expertise and enthusiasm. Ryan, in turn, noticed how much she enjoyed reading and frequently recommended books to her, further deepening their intellectual connection. With each passing day, their shared conversations and quiet companionship slowly transformed into something more meaningful. In her heart, Charlotte realized she had started to fall in love with Ryan, yet she kept her feelings to herself, unsure of how he might feel or how to approach him about something so delicate. She cherished the life they had built together with Lily, but fear and uncertainty held her back from revealing her emotions. "Dad, I think I'm in love with Charlotte. It's been years since I felt anything like this, but I don't know what to do." Ryan's father gave him a warm, understanding smile and said, "Son, life's too short for second-guessing. If you feel this way about Charlotte, you need to tell her. You deserve to be happy." Ryan took a moment to think over his father's words. "But what if she doesn't feel the same way?" he asked. "You won't know until you try. And from what I've seen, the way she looks at you says a lot," his father encouraged. Feeling inspired by his dad's advice, Ryan made up his mind to talk to Charlotte. He wanted to open up about his feelings and see if she felt the same. With a mix of nerves and hope, he started planning how to have the conversation, wishing more than anything that she shared his emotions. That evening, after tucking Lily into bed, Charlotte sat in the living room reading when Ryan approached her. He sat next to her, his heart pounding in his chest. His soft but hesitant voice broke the peaceful silence between them. "Charlotte, can I talk to you about something important?" Ryan asked, looking straight into her eyes. Charlotte put her book aside and turned to him, her face full of attention. "Of course, Ryan. What's going on?" Ryan took a deep breath, trying to summon his courage. "These past few months, I've started to feel more for you than just friendship. You've brought a new kind of light into my life and into this home. I care about you and Lily more than I ever thought I would." Charlotte's heart raced, surprised and moved by his words. "Ryan, I feel something for you too. You've been amazing to us," she replied, her voice shaking slightly. Ryan took her hand gently. "Charlotte, I want to be here for you and Lily, not just as a friend, but as someone who truly cares. I'd love to be part of Lily's life, to take care of her like she's my own daughter." The sincerity in Ryan's voice moved Charlotte, and tears started to well up in her eyes. "That means so much to me. Lily and we already see you as part of our family." From that night on, the relationship between Ryan and Charlotte blossomed. As Charlotte started attending social and professional events with Ryan, reactions from people were mixed. There were whispers and cruel remarks, with some calling Charlotte derogatory names, referring to her as the beggar Ryan took in. In several places, people cast judgmental glances at them, whispering amongst themselves. Yet, Ryan remained unfazed by these opinions, always standing by Charlotte's side, who grew more comfortable and secure with him. At one such event, an elegant cocktail party at an art gallery, Mrs. Susan, a well-known figure in Ryan's social circle, approached the couple. With a polite smile, she greeted them. "Ryan, Charlotte, it's wonderful to see you here. I've heard about your relationship and I want to extend my congratulations," she said, keeping a friendly tone. Charlotte thanked her, though she felt slightly tense under Susan's watchful gaze. There was something about the way Susan looked at her that made her uneasy, but Charlotte held her composure. Susan continued, her attention still firmly on Charlotte. "It's always a pleasant surprise to see new faces at our events. Charlotte, you have a rather distinctive presence." "Thank you, Mrs. Susan," Charlotte replied politely. "Oh, before I forget, I'd like to invite you both to a dinner at my house next week. It would be a pleasure to have you," Susan said, looking at both of them. Ryan hesitated for a moment, feeling a sense of social obligation to accept the invitation, despite not being particularly thrilled about it. He exchanged a quick glance with Charlotte, silently seeking her opinion before responding. "It would be our pleasure, Mrs. Susan. We'll be there," Ryan said, offering a polite smile. Susan seemed satisfied with the response. "I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a delightful evening. Until then," she said, before walking away, leaving Ryan and Charlotte alone once more. As soon as she was gone, Ryan turned to Charlotte. "I'm sorry. I thought it was best to accept. I hope that's all right with you," he said, a bit concerned. Charlotte nodded in support of his decision. "It's fine, Ryan. I think it could be an interesting experience," she replied, trying to sound optimistic. Together, they continued enjoying the event, although the upcoming dinner at Susan's house lingered in their minds, stirring feelings of both curiosity and caution. When the day of the dinner arrived, Ryan and Charlotte prepared for the occasion. The splendor and beauty of Susan's house astounded them upon arrival. It was evident that Susan was a well-known architect. Every single detail of the decor had been meticulously thought out and executed with precision. The aesthetics were flawless, blending modern and classical art in a harmonious way that showcased her talent and eye for design. As they stepped inside, Susan welcomed them warmly, gesturing for them to sit down. Charlotte, while taking in the elegance of the surroundings, couldn't help but feel that there was something missing. Despite the undeniable beauty of the house, it felt devoid of warmth, as if it lacked the true feeling of a home. Susan lived alone in this grand mansion, and the space, while impressive, didn't exude the sense of joy or comfort one might expect. "What a beautiful home you have, Mrs. Susan," Charlotte commented, trying to keep her feelings about the atmosphere to herself. "Thank you, Charlotte. I spent a lot of time on every detail," Susan responded, with a proud yet somewhat reserved smile. Susan's gaze lingered on Charlotte with an expression that was difficult to read. After a brief silence, she began to open up, sharing personal stories from her past. She spoke of hardships she had faced, how life had treated her unfairly in her younger years, leaving both Ryan and Charlotte puzzled about why she was revealing this now. Ryan, sensing that there was a deeper meaning behind Susan's words, finally asked her to be more direct. "Mrs. Susan, excuse me, but I'm a bit confused. Could you explain why you invited us for dinner tonight?" Susan sighed deeply, as though she was gathering the strength to share something she had long kept hidden. She stood up, walked over to a shelf, and took down a photo album. Returning to her seat, she opened it to a page showing a photograph of herself from many years ago. In the picture, she was visibly pregnant. Ryan and Charlotte stared at the photo, still not fully understanding the significance. "Where is the child?" Ryan asked, trying to piece together what Susan was hinting at. Susan, her eyes filling with tears, looked directly at Charlotte. "The child is you, Charlotte." The words hit like a shockwave. The revelation left Ryan and Charlotte sitting motionless. Charlotte glanced from the photo back to Susan, struggling to process what had just been said. "I'm your daughter?" she asked, her voice shaky with emotion. Susan's revelation that she was Charlotte's mother dropped like a bombshell, leaving everyone at the table in a state of disbelief. Ryan, bewildered, spoke up. "That doesn't seem possible, Susan." Charlotte had grown up without ever knowing her mother. How could this be true? Still reeling from the shock, she glanced between Ryan and Susan, unable to find the words. The thought that the woman sitting across from her might actually be her mother was something she had never in her wildest dreams imagined. Susan, with her eyes filled with emotion, started to tell her story. "When I was younger, I met Charlotte's father. He seemed like a kind man at first, even though he struggled with alcohol. We were together for a while, and I became pregnant. But after Charlotte was born, something in him changed. He became aggressive, and on the day we left the hospital, he took her from me. He disappeared, and I had no idea where he went or how to find him." Everyone at the table sat in silence, listening intently as Susan continued. "I did everything I could think of to find her. I hired private investigators and spent a fortune. But it was as if they both vanished from the face of the earth. There were no leads, no clues, and nothing to follow. It was like they just disappeared, leaving no trace that would ever bring me back to my daughter." Charlotte sat there listening to each word, her emotions swirling. She felt a mix of anger and sadness over the years she spent without her mother. There was a storm of confusion brewing inside her as she processed what Susan was telling her. "So the man who raised me actually stole me from you?" Charlotte asked, her voice shaking as she tried to comprehend the weight of that revelation. Susan couldn't hold back the tears anymore, her voice trembling as she replied, "Yes, Charlotte. He took you away from me, my most precious treasure, and I've spent every single day of my life searching for you. I never gave up." The room remained heavy with emotion as Charlotte, still reeling from the truth she was hearing, locked eyes with Susan and asked, "How can you be so sure that I'm your daughter? Why now, after all this time?" Susan, her face a mixture of relief and sorrow, took a deep breath and explained, "When I saw you at the event with Ryan, something inside me just clicked. It was a feeling I couldn't shake. You have a mark on your hand, exactly like the one I have. That mark was the last thing I remembered about you before you were taken from me." Susan's voice cracked with emotion, but she continued, determined to explain. "After that event, I couldn't ignore the feeling, so I contacted a private investigator I've worked with for years. I told him everything, and he began looking into your background. It took time, but the pieces slowly started falling into place. Eventually, the investigator found your father. He was living on the streets, drunk, and a shell of the man I once knew. The investigator approached him, offering him more alcohol, and in his drunken state, your father started talking. He confessed everything, admitting how he had taken you from me that day. He never registered you anywhere, didn't work officially, and lived off the grid to avoid being found. He hid every trace of himself to make sure I would never be able to track him down." Charlotte sat there, absorbing every detail, her mind racing. It felt like her entire life had been a lie, hidden under layers of secrecy. The truth was finally coming to light, but it was overwhelming. So, he lived in fear of being found, hiding in the shadows, and he dragged me along with him, keeping me in that same darkness. Ryan stared at Charlotte and then back at Susan, trying to process what he had just heard. His face was full of astonishment, his voice reflecting disbelief. This whole story, it's just unbelievable. I can't even begin to grasp all of it. Charlotte, her voice heavy with emotion, spoke softly. I never in my life thought something like this could be happening to me. It's too much to take in all at once. Susan, tears glistening in her eyes, gave a slow nod, acknowledging the weight of the moment. I know, sweetheart. It's a shock for all of us, she added gently. Even after everything he did, I arranged for your father to be taken to a care facility. They diagnosed him with schizophrenia, and he'll spend the rest of his life there. Ryan, still trying to understand, asked cautiously, You went to all that trouble for him, even after what he put you and Charlotte through? Susan let out a long, deep breath, her gaze distant as she collected her thoughts. Yes. Despite it all, he's still a very sick man. He deserves some compassion. I spent years filled with so much anger toward him. But now, seeing my daughter standing here in front of me, the happiness I feel, it's overwhelming. I can't hold on to the pain anymore. Charlotte turned to Susan, her heart torn between emotions. Her voice was quiet, but filled with gratitude. Thank you, Susan. I'm still struggling to understand everything, but I'm grateful you looked after him. Despite everything he did to me, he's still my father. After these heartbreaking revelations, Charlotte's life took a dramatic turn. She began visiting Susan's house regularly, and together they worked to mend the relationship that had been broken for so long. On one of her many visits to Susan's home, Charlotte started to feel a sense of hope, the joy of a new beginning, taking root inside her. In a quiet conversation, Susan shared her hopes for Charlotte's future. You've always wanted to continue your education, right? She asked, pouring tea on the sunlit terrace of her elegant home. Charlotte, her eyes lighting up with a spark of hope, responded, Yes, I've always dreamed of studying architecture, but I never had the chance. Susan smiled warmly, her gaze full of affection. Well, I think it's time to make that dream come true. I want you to enroll in the best architecture school in the country. I'll take care of all the arrangements. Charlotte was left speechless, her heart swelling with emotion. For a moment, she could barely speak. You would do that for me? I don't even know how to begin to thank you. Susan's eyes welled with grateful tears as she spoke. She reached across the table, placing her hand over Charlotte's. After all we've been through, it's the least I can do. And there's more, Susan added. I'm building a room for Clarina right here at home. I want to be there for every moment of her growing up, something I sadly missed with you. Charlotte, now openly crying, felt a wave of both happiness and relief. That means so much to me, Susan. Clarina will be thrilled to have a grandmother like you. In one of their many heartfelt conversations, as Clarina played in the yard, Susan shared her deepest feelings with Charlotte. My biggest dream, after finding you, would be to hear you call me Mom. But I understand that this is still new, and I respect your time. I'll do whatever it takes to earn that title. Susan's words moved Charlotte, who sincerely replied, You're already doing so much, Susan. I treasure every kind gesture of yours. I'm sure we'll grow even closer. As time passed, their relationship strengthened naturally. Charlotte made regular visits to Susan's house, where Clarina loved spending time. The little girl, completely comfortable in Susan's presence, filled the home with laughter and joy, creating a sense of family that had long been missing in both Susan's and Charlotte's lives. A few years later, Charlotte, now nearing the end of her architecture program, was preparing for her graduation day. After facing so many challenges and overcoming countless obstacles, she was about to celebrate a major milestone in her life. The graduation ceremony was packed with professors, family and friends, all gathered to witness Charlotte's success. As she walked down the aisle toward the stage, she felt a mix of pride and gratitude. Her eyes scanned the crowd, looking for three special people: her husband, who had always supported her unconditionally, her father-in-law, who had become a steady father figure in her life, and of course, Susan, her biggest supporter in architecture. As she stepped onto the stage, Charlotte looked out at the audience and began her speech. "I stand here today not only because of my own efforts, but also thanks to the invaluable support of some very special people." She spoke, her voice thick with emotion. Then my husband, who has always been by my side, stepped forward. He's been my unwavering support, always pushing me to chase my goals. And my father-in-law, who treated me like his own daughter, was a pillar of strength during my toughest times. Charlotte's eyes then shifted towards Susan, and she took a deep breath before continuing. "And of course, my dear mother." Susan: "Mum, you didn't just give me the opportunity to get an education. You gave me a home. You gave me love. And you gave me the family I've always longed for." As Charlotte's heartfelt words filled the room, everyone could feel the depth of her gratitude, but none were more moved than Susan, who couldn't stop the flood of emotions. Susan's hands rose to her face as tears spilled over, unable to hold back her feelings as she heard Charlotte call her Mom. The weight of that single word, spoken with such affection, hit her deeply. When Charlotte finished her speech, Susan's tears continued to fall, streaming down her face. That simple word, Mom, had touched her heart in a way she had never imagined possible. In that moment, Susan felt a rush of emotions: love, thankfulness, and a profound sense of fulfillment. This ideal moment of unadulterated joy and intense connection had finally replaced the years of searching for answers, the agony of being apart, and the uncertain future. As soon as the graduation ceremony concluded, Susan moved quickly toward Charlotte. The two embraced in a long, tight hug, one that seemed to erase the years of distance and cement their bond as mother and daughter. "My daughter," Susan whispered through her tears, "you have completed my life in ways I never thought were possible." Holding Susan close, Charlotte softly responded, "Mum, you've taught me the true meaning of family and love. I can never thank you enough for all you've done." They left the graduation ceremony hand in hand, both of them feeling a renewed sense of purpose and hope for the future. From that moment on, they knew their lives would be filled with happiness. Their journey together was a powerful testament to the unbreakable bond of maternal love, proving that a mother never gives up on her child, no matter the obstacles life presents. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like and subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue sharing these incredible stories with you almost every day. Don't miss the next one, coming up on your screen now. Thank you for being with us, and see you again soon.